Sounds like something in my accessory belts. Well, let me hunt that noise. Guess I can't stop the timer yet. Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the Questionable Garage. And this is one of those vehicles I said we're slipping in real quick while we're waiting for some parts and tools to still get in here to get back on the satellite. And our friend Toyota Rosa Truckarosa, the Ferrari-bodied pickup truck. So what exactly is this? Well, it's a Toyota 4Runner, potentially one of the most reliable and well-loved vehicles out there. This one is powered by that reliable 3.4-liter V6, and it's due for some maintenance. Well, I say maintenance, repairs. It set the dreaded check engine light for the knock sensor. Now, there's a couple things when you're working on these trucks. If you own one, you might know them. If you get a P0171 code, fuel system 2 lean, you probably have a bad mass airflow sensor. The early ones and even some of the replacements had potting that would drop down and screw up signals, and it would set fuel system 2 lean, and most people would put a flurry of O2 sensors and exhaust manifolds and fuel pumps trying to fix the airflow sensor. The other common codes are for the knock sensors. So we're doing a pair of knock sensors and the knock sensor wiring harness on it. And it kind of requires taking all the intake off. And then there's a whole lot of, well, while you're there's. So what all are we doing today? And why on earth am I doing a video on it? Well, we're doing timing belt water pump, oil seals, intake gaskets, knock sensors, valve cover gaskets. When you go to most dealerships, all of these things together get to about 15 or 16 hours of labor time of what they charge to do all of this, which is quite a chunk. When you think about it, 15 or 16 hours. I felt like I could get it done a whole lot quicker. A lot quicker. So, what are we doing? Well, thanks to our buddies, Murloc Racing, Steve, he got me this really cool clock and temperature thing. But it also has, there we go, a timer on it. Steve wanted facts. So, we're gonna get started. We're gonna get this whole thing tearing down. I'm gonna turn a fan back on because that's showing 89 degrees, it doesn't show humidity. And the temperature's climbing. And this is my friend's daughter's way to school. It is summer. I just realized that. I don't have to work really fast and hard. They don't need to go to school tomorrow. Anyway, we're trying to get this thing fixed and running today. 4 hours maybe? That's my goal. Maybe. I think I've got all my tools set right there. We've got almost all our parts. He's missing 3 of them. We'll have them dropped off here in a little bit. But we're gonna turn on this GoPro, turn on a fan, and start a timer and see just how quickly I can get that thing apart. Do I still got it? Or am I just old, tired, and sweaty? Well, no, I am that, but can I still work quick? All right, guys, we've got a quick interruption. Were you like me? Were you kind of sad, maybe cried a little bit when classic Coca-Cola went away and you had to fight to get it back? Well, thanks to today's sponsor, Raycon, some of you guys may have missed the classics. Well, guess what? Raycon is proud to reintroduce the Raycon Everyday Classic. Now I get it, nothing is worse when a classic comes back and it's, a disgrace to the original. That's not gonna happen with the Raycon Everyday Classics. No Indiana Jones snafus here. Not only do you get a 32-hour battery life, which is well improved, you're also getting the active noise cancellation everyone has gone to love and enjoy about the everyday earbuds. You're getting it in the small compact classics now. What does active noise cancellation mean? Well, when you got something annoying going on, something loud that's detracting from your music, your podcast, the movie you're watching, whatever you're enjoying, be it barking dogs, clucking chickens, or a fan because it's a little bit warm and you got air moving around. These are gonna help drown out that annoying sound, letting you just enjoy that crisp, clean audio. I bet you wish you had active noise cancellation right now. Now, it's not just me saying great audio quality. My wife absolutely loves her everyday earbuds. They're on her keychain, it's her go-to, and she's retired much more expensive versions friends who have bought them and the comments I see down below have all absolutely enjoyed the quality you get out of the Raycons at an incredibly affordable price. They are punching way above their price point. It's an underdog that's gonna knock out Mike Tyson. Seriously, I absolutely love the Raycon Everyday Classics. These are my new go-to day-to-day earbud. Whether you're using the noise cancellation or, you know, I don't have Bluetooth in the truck and want to listen to my own music. So I can run these things in awareness mode so I can hear sirens, maybe a weird noise coming from the truck on top of my music by it allowing active sounds through around you as well. They are absolutely amazing. You will love them. I guarantee it. They're phenomenal. And when you buy them, you're supporting the channel. So if you're ready to join the remix and get some everyday classic earbuds, head on over to buyraycon.com/questionable and you're gonna save 20% off your everyday classic earbuds. Again, that's buyraycon.com/questionable. You're gonna save 20% off your everyday classics and you're gonna get some great sound and help support the channel. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this episode, and let's get back to work. All right, on your mark, get set, we're going. I know you may be asking why, we've got all these cool cars, why a 4Runner? Well, one, I like them, I think they're cool. And two, I had a cool interaction with a viewer where he was talking about kind of wanting to try to learn and get started, was incredibly nervous about finally turning some wrenches and doing some maintenance on his car. But ultimately, he went ahead and did it. It went successful, and he felt really good about it. So maybe me being silly and quote-unquote speed running this repair, one of you might look at it and go, hey, maybe I should give that little job a try on my car. And that to me is a really big win. Come on. Jeez. I got my Chris Fix mini pry bars. These things have worked great. But it's even better when it's not a screwdriver and it's something actually meant for the abuse you're throwing at it. But yeah, when we get in here, you'll understand why we kept adding more and more to just the knock sensor. Because again, you really have to tear a lot down to get to them. Now, when it comes time to get your parts for a job like this, your timing belt kits, drive belts, gaskets, things like that, you do pretty good getting them, you know, from O'Reilly, getting an aftermarket. But when it comes to your knock sensors on these engines, I'm really particular. You really should just go ahead, get your Toyota, the Denso. So those of you who also sling the wrenches for a living, what's your case of best time beating the book? What a lot of people don't understand, techs are paid on what's called flat rate, mostly. Where, you know, say a job takes, or according to the book, you take X number of hours or whatever, that's what the tech gets paid. Whether he does it faster or slower, his pay is whatever the book says it should have taken. That's where you sometimes end up with techs that'll take shortcuts, but the problem is then they end up with what's called a comeback, something not done right. Generally speaking, you don't get paid to fix a comeback when it's your fault. So you want to be quick, efficient, and accurate. Now, another really common failure are these fan idlers, and this is a relatively new but aftermarket one. So if you ever do valve covers, replace these washers. If you don't, it's gonna start leaking right away. These are what's responsible for keeping the torque on your bolts. And more often than not, they're what have failed, causing your gasket to leak. There's also one more thing I'll show you in a little bit when we get to it. That also is a really big culprit. Say this, it does feel good. You make the decision to do a bunch of while you're there's, and this gasket's pretty crunchy, and the spark plug tube seals are completely shot, considering half of it stayed behind. Alright, so timer's still going. That is what we're talking about. These had issues with their head gasket between material and torque, and that is a very, very early warning sign. Right around that coolant passage. We got that one. A little bit harder to see because of light. We also got that one. If I didn't slow down because of that, we'd probably be fully torn down in 45 minutes. I'm still gonna fully tear it down with the timer running. We're not gonna change that. Let's get the timing belt fully stripped down and the water pump off, and then I'll stop the timer. Because then you figure 30 minutes of cleaning parts and then time and a half on reassembly. So we'll see my theoretical time, but I did not have time. Remember in the last video when I tore apart the engine for the satellite where I said, hey, we got some quick one day in and out simple things. I had 1 day planned for this, and now it's gonna be 3-ish. Crap. Man, without fail, stuff like that, it always just takes so much out of you. Driving, feeling really good, making good time. Discouraging, but still gotta fix it. Just a matter of, do we ignore it? Fix it right. Not my choice. But we gotta have that conversation here in a minute. So, drive belt, pulley, lower cover, water pump. I'm definitely behind where I wanted to be. And I am not gonna lie that I did not get discouraged quite a bit and just kind of pout for a minute. I also won't say it's not wrong to occasionally just need to do. Just don't get stuck too long there. You're never gonna get out of it if you don't start trying to move it forward, whatever you're stuck in. Car project, life situation. If all you ever do is sit and worry about where you are, then what's wrong? You're never going to get to where you want to be. Tell you what, definitely did not want to be looking at doing head gaskets on a 3.4 this early again. Conversation we're having is basically the point that it's torn apart for me to do all the work we were planning to do. I need to pull the alternator, I need to pull the power steering pump, and we need to pull the exhaust manifolds off. And heads. I should have known. I should have known. In my head, quick and easy. Quick and easy. When was the last time it's actually been that for me? So what are we fighting with down here? If you see how rough the snout is here of the crank, that should be really nice and smooth. So before we try pulling this gear over it, I'm going to come in with some sandpaper, try to get that a little bit smoother before we get that stuck on there. So all I need to do is get that off, and we are officially torn down. Slower than I want, but again, given our circumstances, I'm not too upset. All right, so that just overheated. You can see where the timer's at. You can see we are fully torn down. Now listen to this. Let's see if I can spin it good enough one-handed. I can't. Chin? Nope, that didn't work either. Well, anyway, this is really bad. You can kind of hear it knocking, so that's bad. Crank trigger wheel had some damaged teeth on it. The keyway's a little messed up. None of this was really properly tight, and that created all of this to chatter around, so we're gonna need some more buffing and work to get this 100%. Obviously, we got a lot of little cleanup to do, and the big question, are we doing head gaskets? But for now, timer, stop. Let me make sure, okay, yeah, I can stop and restart, so there we are. That's where we're pausing. I'll let you know here shortly what we're doing. All right, I made the call. My friend who owns the 4Runner came by, and we're gonna do head gaskets. Messes things up a little bit. We're trying to do the, 14, 15 hour book job in under 4 hours. So I'm making the decision. I'm gonna get the heads done and get it back together at the point that we stopped the timer at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Not gonna do anything else. We're gonna clean up the cylinder heads, but we're not gonna clean up any of those parts. So that way we can be accurate about it and just realize, for whatever reason, anytime I plan for something to be quick and easy, it is anything but it. But it was definitely the right call. So there was that small bit of coolant leaking there, and once we lifted it up, we saw a couple small passes in the head gasket where it was definitely leaking into the combustion chamber on a couple of the cylinders. So, not an uncommon problem. Again, any of you who knew the 3.4s, you knew right away the 171 code problem, you knew the knock sensor problem, and in your head, you weren't at all surprised to hear about the head gaskets. It happens. Also, it got so hot in here, I was sitting in front of the fan for a minute drinking some water, and I'm like, man, it stinks. My well-worth wheel cleaner, that bottle cracked and started to leak. It's a little warm. I need to do something about that. So I'm gonna get the cylinder heads to the machine shop tomorrow morning. Hopefully they're just gonna resurface and everything's good on them, and then I will relap the valves. I will take you along for putting it back together, so you know I'm not cheating. We're not trying to cheat a speed run here. And then we'll get that timer started back up and get this thing running as good as it can. Well, all right, guys, our one-day job has gotten a little bit more intense. As you saw, we had those head gasket leaks. We paused our timer, and I was getting that taken care of so we can continue our speed run of knock sensors and valve cover gaskets and the like on this 4Runner. So let me show you where we're at. Pretty much exactly where we left off, but as you can tell, the heads look a little bit better. Now, any machine shop right now is pretty much backed up forever. So in order to get these heads hot tanked and resurfaced, I had to tear them all the way apart reseat the valves, do all of that work myself. Now, I didn't film it because I've just done it twice in the last couple months, both on the Econoline inline 6 300 engine and the F100's V8. Same process. I felt like we've got it well covered, but in the interest of our speed run, I'm trying to be as true as I could. Got it back to where it was. Now, I did put the cam seals in. I have not reset the half moons. That's part of the job. Knock sensors aren't in it. Again, we've got heads bolted on to try to make up for some of the little extra cleaning that happened as processes of doing the head gaskets. Haven't put the alternator or the power steering pump back on. And you can look, it's the original crank seal, and I've not cleaned the front of the motor. I'm trying to make it as real as possible. Also, I said I wasn't gonna move any of this stuff. We got a real big shipment in this week. It's still there, I've gotta clean it. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to pull out my fancy little thing here. We're gonna enter back into the timer, and boom. All right, time's a wasting. We're gonna grab some parts, get them cleaned outside, swap out seals, and get back going to try to get this thing running today and out of the shop so we can get on to the 30 other things. I was hoping to be done sub 4 hours. We're borderline right now, but intake's on, valve cover's on. Now, anytime you're doing one of these valve cover gaskets, replace these rubber washers. What happens is these things get really hard and they kind of hold a little bit of preload in them. So when your rubber starts to kind of shrink and get hard, you keep torque on it. Otherwise they get loose, you start leaking a little bit. But we got our timing belt on. We got to throw front covers on, a couple hoses, shrouds, things like that. If you're ever looking for a good project to kind of learn on, you're not familiar with working on cars, but you're curious and want to try to get better, the 3.4 liters are amazing to do. They're non-interference in 99.8% of the circumstances, and the timing belts are very plainly marked. So if you have to do that, it's really easy. Your cam has a dot and an arrow, arrow's pointing out. You line up all your dots. Really nice and easy. So one thing that's not ever fun to do on these are these tensioners, but now that I know that everything's right, we'll pull this grenade pin. That's what we call them. Keep that too. That's your hydraulic tensioner. That's gonna come up and push that belt. Now that we know that everything is set right, anyone who has done a 3.4, you might have that little special tool that goes between the water pump and the tensioner to push it down and reload the hydraulic tensioner, because really a factory tensioner is good for probably 2 belts or so. That's about 180,000 miles. This is 300,000 miles and it had an original one. So if you have the right quarter-inch stuff, you can kind of finagle it around. The bolts look easy to get, but it is always a nightmare to actually change that tensioner out. But I feel like we're making really good progress. We are almost ready to run. And while it won't be 4 hours, we're still doing pretty good. So the timing belt sticker says this was last done 65,000 miles ago. I need to remember to keep mixing up some of my hydration multipliers. I could be using the air ratchet to rip it back together. I tend to use those more just for quick teardown and not always reassembly. No real particular reason, I guess. So when we drive or when we start is when I feel like the moment this thing fires off, timer stops. Since I'm the one making the rules, although in theory I could start it now. Kind of missing engine oil. Cool it. 16 minutes and change to be sub 4 hours. With the asterisks, I get it. About the head gaskets, but you know. I'll say probably the most common mistake with all of these manually adjusted belts, people get them way too tight. Be careful as you're tensioning, don't go crazy. If you go too crazy, you can actually hurt the main bearings of the engine. That's any type of manually tension belt. Where a power tool would have been easier to do, but it's kind of crazy to me how much of this thing was all just, you know, while you're there, there's the knock sensors. It's like, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, and then find the leaky head gasket. But so it doesn't matter what you're working on, what your plans are. Car is always going to decide for you. All right, we're going to keep the timer running. You see it over there, so you know I'm not fooling. I got a couple more bolts to do. I'm going to put some fluids in it, lift it up, and do one underneath check, and then we're going to lower it down and start it up for the first time. Well, all right. We still got to get a little bit more, well, a lot more coolant in it. But everything's looking good. So I figured we'd get it fired up and let things warm up and do the final fluid checks with it running, hopefully. Maybe. Don't have a ton of room here. We're gonna do a couple key cycles. Try to see if we can get fuel prime all the way through. Come on. Come on. Boom. Like something in my accessory belts. Well, let me hunt that noise. I guess I can't stop the timer yet. Sounds like something on the timing belt, so I don't really want to put more coolant in it. Let me do some digging. That's how I feel right now. Pulled the cover off, put the hose back on it, and it still was making the sound. No change at all. Sounded like it was that upper cam area. Stethoscope, nothing specific. It didn't really dial in exactly where it's potentially coming from. I kind of put a wrench on everything I could get a wrench on, making sure it's all tight. And then I just revved it, held about 4,500 RPM, just to see if it would get better or worse. Let's do it per. It's better, I think. No more noise. So now I'm gonna stop the timer, then we're gonna let it cool back off, and I'm gonna put that cover back on. So, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't stop the timer, but I'm gonna do it. Ready? Boom. 4 hours, 37 minutes, 27 seconds. I got a small mess and Forerunner to put back together again, and then we're gonna go for a drive. When you walk up and have a small heart attack, I have the AC on, getting ready for my drive. So yeah, just condensation out of the evaporator core. Tell you what though, it's the quickest way to make a tech panic when you do this much work and suddenly it just looks like it's pouring fluid out. It's just a little humid. Let's go for a drive. Well, we're on the road cruising for a while. Everything's pretty good. We hammer her down. Now, anyone who knows a 3.4, they're not fast, but we do get up and move pretty acceptable. I'm content with that because the bottom end technically has 300,000 miles still on it. It looks really good. I didn't see anything too troublesome there. Just cleaned it up really good, put some fresh heads with a little bit of work on them, and it's running and driving. I wish I knew exactly what that tapping noise was. I'm not gonna say it's the first time I've had one do it. Maybe one of the buckets, I didn't quite get enough oil when I put the valve bucket, the shim bucket in. So maybe it was sticking a little bit and tapping, and now that it, with a lot of RPM, got enough oil slung around everywhere to take care of it. That's most likely what it was. That one of those front buckets a little sticky. So, all in all, I think we're good. I'm gonna enjoy a little bit of air conditioning and try to get back before the storm, because that's not near the shop. This is heading back to the shop. Can't quite see Mount Yona anymore. Well, all right, we're back to the shop. I'm very impressed with this little 3.4. It, again, a 3.4 is never a powerful engine. They feel good with a TRD supercharger if you can find one. Otherwise, they're just an adequate runs forever motor. And now with 300,000 miles with a fully freshened up top end, this should run a whole lot longer. Also, it was kind of fun seeing if I still could throw down a little bit when it came to speed. Again, at the dealership, that would be, if I remember, valve covers, a full front end, and knock sensors. You're looking minimum 12 hours is what I remember them billing out as. We got done in just over four cylinder head gaskets. So getting them torn apart, it was less than 30 minutes. Basically where we had it, it was quick and easy. Thank you, Cleveland Machine, for getting me in and out. What I did is I stripped the heads completely bare, just said, can you clean them and resurface? Normally a good machine shop, they're backed up. There's no way around it. There's not enough people wanting to be machinists anymore. If you're wanting to get into an automotive career and you kind of enjoy the engine side of stuff, machine shops are desperate for good people and people willing to learn. So can't recommend it enough. But I brought them some bare heads Monday just before lunch. They called me first thing Wednesday. I went through, again, relapped, cleaned up all the valves, got all of that together, and then put them back on, I'd say maybe 5 hours. So we're 9 hours if we include the cylinder heads, which is still ahead of the time, which wouldn't pay for the cylinder heads. But adding cylinder heads and fixing some broken studs, you're probably like 20-ish hours total. So we did great. And my friend has a great running 4Runner again. It's funny how things can snowball. A lot. A whole lot. Once we got in there, we found things that weren't done right in the past. The crank pulleys was not tight, damaged the timing belt gear as well as the crank pulley. We were able to save the crank snout, thankfully. So all that's good, and it's ready for another 300,000 miles. And I'm ready to get back on the satellite and the Toyota truck, because you saw it in the background. That's our next episode. We got something really cool to finally unbox that I'm really excited to see how it's going to do on this classic car restoration stuff, both in fabrication, cleaning, and prep work. It's going to do a whole lot, and that's what's might be next. I don't know how all this is dropping in time. We're doing like 5 videos all at once as things are misbehaving. So maybe it's next, maybe it's coming up really soon. And if you'd like to see it, make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, thank you to all of the patrons and channel members. I appreciate you guys. Trying to be active in the Discord. I need to work on getting you some extra features, but it's just a little bit more you guys can do to support the channel, which I absolutely appreciate a ton. That's gonna do it. A little bit warm. Gonna go drink some water. Jared reminding you guys to always make questionable choices, except for when it comes to your friend's daughter's vehicle. Do it right. Don't worry about speed. We'll see you next time.